everyone, to another episode of the Khalis Podcast, a platform to share the thoughts and works of both aspiring and established writers, poets, artists, and activists who are passionate about preserving and furthering Sikh and Punjabi heritage and history. Today, I'm joined by Amar Mann Kaur to speak about her debut book, Love, Truth, and Divine, a poetry collection which we'll be going into shortly. This was published by Khalis House on the 14th of March, 2025. Now, Amar Mann Kaur is a physician, poet, art activist, and a wellness expert. Understanding the power of poetry for healing, activism, and beauty, she embarks on meaningful activism projects. She loves to explore the mystical, magical, mysterious nature of life, nature, and divine in her poetry. Her poems have appeared in Poets for Science, Bear River Review, and Naad Pragas. She loves to spend time in nature with family and friends and is passionate about reducing the single-use of single-use plastics. And she lives with her husband and daughter in Michigan, USA. So Benji, welcome along to the Khalis Podcast. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ
Thank you for joining me. I know we had some technical issues just to start off here because of the time difference, perhaps. But yeah, no, lovely to see you and looking forward to speaking to you about your book.
Thank you for
So,
inviting me and giving this opportunity. Yeah, I'm excited.
awesome. So we'll start with the podcast just by me asking you perhaps a little bit about your background, your journey into writing. How did all of that come about?
Okay. So, I am a physician. My background, if you call that as my background, though it's much more complicated, the background we carry even our ancestors' stories, their struggles. So our journey is, I'm sure, much longer. So I'm a physician and have MD and MPH degrees. MPH is Masters in Public Health. So we, as a physicians, seeing a lot of people and dealing with people, their feelings and emotion. As physicians, we often tell them to process their feeling and emotions, write a journal. So that's how I feel my uh, journey into writing became or begins to process my feeling and emotions. And sometimes when you're writing, you have some good collection, and maybe some people around you will say, "Oh, yeah, you should publish." Then maybe that's how your idea about publishing starts.
That's awesome. That's something that I've not actually thought about that before. As a practicing physician, that you recommend, writing and journaling as a means of kind of healing and perhaps working through a particular moment in someone's life. Is that a common practice across the board? Is that something that you kind of introduced? And when did that come about? Because my understanding of, kind of science and especially, I guess, working as a physician, even more so, I guess, maybe as a psychologist, is perhaps more looking at other kind of maybe Western forms of healing and medicine. Is journaling a very big part of the world of the way where you work and what you've been doing?
I would not say it's a big part, but when we are trying to work with any patient, trying to heal them, it's kind of every one of us carry our story. So there's a lot of emotions, feeling with what we are going through. So even we, as a physicians, are trying to improve ourselves, how to deal with patients' feeling and emotions. So how to heal that aspect. So we recommend even for patients also to how they process their feelings and emotion because that's whole combined healing process.
Okay, well, that's fascinating. Okay, so I think you've kind of already alluded to it, but how did this book come about then? When did it start? When did you first sit down with the idea of writing a book, or were you kind of writing poems, sporadically, and then you had a collection, or did you sit down, with a purpose to say, right, I would like to write this book now. How did all of that come about?
Sure. So I've been writing poems here and there and sharing with my friends, colleagues sometimes. And some poems I've been writing even for activism. So along the journey of writing, you feel, okay, yeah, I have enough collection, and maybe someone else will love to read. And you hear some people encouraging you that, okay, why don't you publish? So it's kind of a process. Then maybe I would say 9 months ago or so, uh, then I thought, okay, yeah, let me start compiling some of the poems I was writing, and some was already written in the past. So I start compiling the book somewhere around 9 months ago. And that's how, when you also feel that this particular set of poems can fit into one theme of the book. Sometimes you are just all over the place. You may be writing one poem about a I'm just giving example about a tree, and the next day you may be writing about some plastics, single-use plastic. Then sometime along the line, when you feel your points are fit for one theme, and can contain under one theme, so then you feel, okay, yeah, that's feel like a book material.
Sure, sure. With regards to the themes, I know obviously the book is divided up into two parts, so that there are two parts of the book. Um, and t tell us a bit about the themes that you've chosen, and the poems, perhaps why you've focused on those particular themes.
Okay, so yeah, the book is divided into two parts. In, as you know, the title Love, Truth, and Divine. So I am including a lot of oneness, and we, as society, as our individual, developing into trying to become better of ourselves. So, and how we even inherited from our gurus, all the wisdom. So there's a big theme about oneness. So in this book also, I'm talking a lot about oneness, uh, and how this love, truth, and divine exist in oneness. The book having two structure in the first part, which consists of 24 points. Most of the poems are from the voice and the lens of nature. So it's the voice of trees, rivers, bazaar, some pool, fort, roads. Their voices used, and I have included or combined spirituality, some Sikh history, and poetry for the first 24 poems. In the second part, just to have a little bit glimpse so that readers may want to hear the poet's voice. So I have used the poet's voice for the in the part two, which has 7 poems. And so its book has total 31 poems, and that's the same number of ragas in Guru Granth Sahib. So that's kind of how the theme is running in the poetry book.
Yeah, and that was a conscious decision that you took. You wanted to have 31 poems for that reason.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. You mentioned there that in part one there are some poems that perhaps reflect Sikh history, and there were a few that really stuck out to me. Are there any that you'd like to share for the benefit of our listeners and viewers? Any perhaps that maybe resonate with you? Would you like to do that?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So in the part one, lots of poems are, yeah, from the Sikh history, and I can read this poem. It's called Road Less Traveled. Okay, so the poem is from the voice of the road. I, the road from Govindwal to Khandur, was less traveled. One day, a beautiful traveler started walking on my path. Every day I began to long for him. Every day I wished to kiss his feet. With beloved's love in his eyes, heart, and devotion on enhance, never able to break his meditative trance. I yearned for his attention and made myself more beautiful every day. I begged the divine for hail, storms, high winds, and bright sunshine. Anything to break his meditative trance, just once to get his loving glance. Behold, after 12 long years, one day he stumbled and fell upon me, hugging me to his bosom. His beloved lifted him and sacrificed his all for him. I have heard that in his community, when someone falls, humbly his beloved elates him instantaneously. Even I was lucky to receive his hug. I touched divinity. From that day onwards, I was a road well traveled, even up through eternity. So this is kind of a from the Sikh history that how Guru Amar Das Ji was doing his seva, carrying water early in the morning, carrying for Guru Angad Dev Ji's morning bathing. He did this service almost for 12 years. So that's kind of this poem is inspired from.
That's beautiful. There are so many poems that I could pick out from part one. There's one in particular that really kind of when you initially sent me the manuscript and we were going through the editing process and copy reading and it was the bricks of Sirhind and it's very similar because like you mentioned at the beginning, this is about elements within nature speak as if there was if as if they had a voice and kind of what they would say. So obviously,
Mm.
very famously, we know the Saki of the Chote Sahibzada that we all kind of commemorate, remember in the month of Bo. And what I found is over the years, it's very much kind of the same stories are told because they're important. We need to know the facts of what took place, but very rarely do you get this kind of artistic perspective, which is what you've provided through this particular poem. Would you mind reading that one?
Sure, no worries. Yeah, I'm glad you loved it. So yeah, I would say yeah, I love all my poems. But
Good to hear.
so, so yeah, it's kind of a what I feel the poetry. Any times it connects us back to our stories, our higher self, brings us something moves good within us. Then we feel that yeah, it's poetry is successful.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you for choosing this. Okay, bricks of Sirhind. We, the bricks of Sirhind, first saw them when Mughal armies brought them in our Burj called Thanda. Mere 6 and 9 years old, the biggest spiritual sun shining brightly on them and within their hold. We confess they made us feel so blessed. We kissed their feet and were not able to rest. We listened to their stories, some small and some very grim and grimy, shared with their grandma. The stories of righteousness, the stories of dharma. A few days later, we did not know what was the matter. Along with bricks into a wall, they were to be bricked alive. Our lungs out, we cried. No one could imagine our plight. Why be part of this low point in human history? Wazir Khan's made misery. We, who never dared to look into their eyes. Why did we have to raise ourselves to their height? Along with them, we suffocated because we were made to hug them so tight. Our hearts battered and we got bruised and shattered. We waited without patience, knew heaven has to pass its sentence. Then came brave soul called Banda, and we were no longer able to hide in our Burj Thanda, who scattered us farther from our kiln and from our kith and kin. In the dust we lay buried, broken from spine and in vain, trying to raise ourselves again. Maybe we should have strongly resisted against standing high, should have persisted. Our days are speechless, our nights are sleepless. Start with maybe, end with maybe. Don't know who are those few lucky bricks of Sirhind who now shelter their devotees and listen to the love songs sung by their devotees.
It's beautiful. If I can just speak to kind of why this one resonates for me, I think um, often like when we speak about the Chote Sahibzade, um, it's from a particular narrative and it's often a narrative that is quite I wouldn't say victimhood, but it's quite the emotions that are evoked are quite like sad and it's a time of mourning. Um, but I think that what they stood for on that on those in those few days and how they walked into Wazir Khan's court, that defiance, that resistance, even though they knew themselves at a young age what was going to what was going to be passed before them, is often something that I think is overlooked in perhaps how we remember. And one thing this poem does really well is it explains beautifully, the emotion of that scene. And then there's a reference and a nod to Banda Singh Bahadur. And that sometimes is missing because we just focus on what took place, but not what the kind of the Sikh response was. And even though you haven't gone into great details because of the poem and the nature of what it is you're doing, um, there is that kind of nod of appreciation. This is it's a continuous, and the bricks, if the bricks could speak, this is how they would see it and view it. Which I found I've not seen anything like that with regards to that particular itihas before, so it's really commendable. And it reminded me of an art piece that I saw just last year actually by an artist based in the UK, and what she had done, and I forget the artist's name now, but I'll try and link it in the podcast. Is what she had done was she had drawn the eyes of the hawk of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and the eyes were crying. And in the
Oh,
eyes, the reflection was the scene. And what she was saying was that even though the Guru and the Singhs and the Sikhs did not shed any tears, we still feel the pain. And so the hawk sees it all, and the hawk is shedding the tears. And I think this is the beauty of artistic impression through art or poetry. We have that license to go there, right, and to elevate the soul to that place. So it reminded me of that art piece as well. So yes, it's a favorite of mine.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, I glad that you really enjoyed it. So that's how kind of sometimes the poets take liberty to extend their imagination and imagine things a little differently, and sometimes new ways. And yeah, that's my hope that kind of every reader get touched by at least one poem in the book, which is kind of really they feel moved.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. And just on that, do you feel that we as Sikhs that we read and write poetry as much as we perhaps as we should? And if not, maybe why that is, and why it's important to engage with, the written word, especially in the form of poetry.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good question and very deep question. So I would say answer is yes and no. Yes, in a way, there's a saying that how someone can be born with the silver spoon. So in the six, I guess the term is we are born with the poetic spoon, right? The day we are born, I'm sure someone around us um, maybe read Mool Mantar or sang Mool Mantar or first Pori, and then most of the little infants go to Gurdwara, I guess, when they are 1 month old, or someone at home sang some Mool Mantar. And so Guru Granth Sahib is all divine poetry.
Mhm.
So people who are engaging with Guru Granth Sahib, reading, singing, I guess then they are engaging with poetry a lot. And for some who are not engaging, then maybe, yeah, we are not reading poetry. And then there are some other great poets, also by Veer Singh, by Professor Puran Singh. So their poetry is also from very higher conscious level. So it's kind of a moves us. So that's how I feel some of us who are reading, singing Gurbani, they are in touch with the poetry and they feel that how it moves us. And for some, yeah, we can do better. Uh, so why it is so important, I feel even our path of enlightenment is through word or Shabad Guru. So that's how the sixth path for enlightenment is linked with Shabad Guru. And then I was kind of thinking about even this at some point. And in Gurbani, I came across very good verses where even how it is linked our enlightenment with Shabad Guru. So I will just read few verses. This is from Gurbani. Tur ape jinanu bakshion pai, shabde leon malai. Nanak naam mein lai sawarian, shabde le malai. Ape rangan rangeon, shabde leon malai. So there is kind of a how it is linked that it is through Shabad Guru we're gonna meet with divine, with oneness, with our creator. So that's how I feel poetry is important, and many times it can give us small flights into higher consciousness, especially if it is more spiritual oriented poetry. Then yeah, definitely it has its role for us to have some flight into higher consciousness.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful, and I agree with that. I think I think it depends on how it is the individual views Guru Granth Sahib Ji. If it's viewed as perhaps how it's told in the West, especially within like schools specifically, I'm just speaking from my own experience outside of the
Mhm.
Sikh spaces, is that is Gurbani and Guru Granth Sahib Ji is said to be a scripture amongst scriptures. But we know that from the way that it's written in poetic form, and also Gurbani is supposed to be sung, right? It's not just supposed to be read and sung also within Sangha. And you create that environment where the actual, let's say, the transformation from a Manmukh to a Gurmukh takes place. So I think it is such a core element of the Sikh being. So I love how you've explained that. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned there by Veer Singh and Professor Puran Singh, what were those two kind of key personalities from Sikh history for you in terms of inspiration? What was your inspiration for writing these poems beyond your work?
Sure. So yeah, definitely I am standing on the shoulder of the giants. So yeah, their poetry, when you read it, their writings always kind of inspires you, moves you to a little higher conscious. So yeah, they've been part of, I'm sure, somewhere my poetry vocabulary. I'm sure they infuse my impulse of creativity. Then my inspiration is also I see that how the poetry it brings beauty, healing, and joy in my life. So my I'm trying and hoping that it brings the same for other people. And sometimes I feel this is gift from universe also, when you feel okay, universe has given you this gift, let's share with others, pour some joy in the universe. So that's kind of my inspiration about writing this book.
Amazing. And moving from inspiration to aspirations, what do you hope to achieve with the book? What would you want readers to take away from it?
Okay, so that will be, as I have written in my book also, that I'm hoping this will provide food for mind, heart, and soul. Many time, person like me is focused on food for our body, so we need food for our others. And in my foreword, also I have written few things. Okay, so I hope these poems expand and tug us at the hidden parts of our hearts and minds. I hope these poems can create beauty by sometimes causing gentle smiles and laughter, handing us mirrors, and by small flights to higher consciousness. When I'm saying handing us mirrors, in a way, all the Sikh history, and when you see the world around you, I also want readers to take that there are still Chandus, Gangus, and Aurangzeb in our world. I feel anytime person is causing any death, division, and deception, then we are Chandus. When our character fall due to greed, we do things based on greed, then we are Gangus. And anytime we are imposing our views on others, then we are acting very authoritarian, and then we are Aurangzeb. And when we carry over these imposing our views on others by force or by any hook and crook. We can be tyrants, Hitlers. So all those elements still exist in this word. Then I feel that we kind of need to be aware that how history repeats and how history remembers. So we do remember that how and what role was of Chandus and Gangus and Aurangzeb. And in that imposing views standpoint, also sometimes even some can be saying how the Sikhism is part of some Sufism, Hinduism. You feel that, okay, let's Sikhs decide if they are part of any other ism or not. So it's kind of a gives us a lot of good lessons about what happens in our world. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I want readers to carry or take, along with all the embedded divinity in this book, carry even these kind of look examples.
yeah, that's really powerful. I wanted to just share with the listeners and the viewers some kind of early praise that the book has received, which obviously on the back of the book as well. The first kind of review came from Valarie Kaur, who is a best-selling author. The books include See No Stranger and Sage Warrior, and she wrote, and I quote, "The world needs Sikh wisdom, and these poems deliver the magic and beauty of our ancestors' call to oneness with sweet simplicity and infinite love." And then the other review came from Professor Nikki Kaur Singh, who is a Crawford professor and chair of the Department of Religious Studies. And she writes, and I quote, "This is an extraordinary and invaluable poetic constellation of Sikh history. Critical events from the Sikh past are arrestingly voiced by roadways, fruit trees, rivers, pools, bazaars, bricks. The foundational moment of Guru Nanak's divine epiphany is told by the rejoicing waters of River Bein as they translucently embrace the Guru's body. The horrific martyrdom of the 10th Guru's young sons is told by the mourning Sirhind bricks as they are being forced to go up higher and higher, tighter and tighter to entomb the 6 and 9-year-old tender bodies. Wondrously, provocatively, poignantly, Amar Mann Kaur makes us experience the Sikh past to imagine anew. The 31 poems echo the 31 raga structure of the Sikh scripture, just as her beautifully hewn voice verses echo the scriptural rhythms. While making the past viscerally present for her readers, Kaur challenges us to question our contemporary reality. Why is Guru Tegh Bahadur's Martyrdom Day not a national day? So the bustling Chandni Chowk asks. Indeed, poet Amar Mann Kaur has singularly succeeded. Nanak did not only write and sing love songs, he made poets, he sets souls aflame, which is, high praise from Professor Singh, obviously. And lastly, there's a short but powerful review from Vishwajit Singh, who is an artist, storyteller, and creator of the sicktunes.com and Oscar qualified animated short American Sikh. And he writes, and I quote, "The words in this collection are a rendezvous between the divine and its beautiful creation. Join them for a yearningful spiritual ride." So, I think those three individual reviews speak for themselves. And obviously, as someone who has had the pleasure of reading the manuscript, I can certainly echo those thoughts as well. I wanted to ask you how has the book been received? I know there was a small launch that you did locally. How was it received?
So far, I am finding very good feedback and getting very good feedback. And thanks, yeah, all this endorsement, I am humbled by it. So it is kind of becomes like I am the first time a poet, published poet. So it becomes a little bit of a getting the word out. But on my the book launch, the whatever number of books I had, they all got sold. So that was encouraging. So yeah, so far I am hearing good things about it, and I'm hoping that it keep on gonna walk its baby steps to get into more readers. So yeah, anyone who likes it, appreciates it, I would want them also to spread the word around. And I'm hoping that yeah, more people uh, read it, and hopefully they will at least carry or couple of lines really stay in their mind and consciousness.
Absolutely, yeah. And the book is available to purchase, again, for the benefit of our listeners and viewers on carlishouse.com, but also global Amazon markets, including just recently, in fact, just this week, it's now available in Kindle as well. So it's readily available from wherever you are. I wanted to ask you, as you mentioned, as a first time, a published poet, what advice would you have for other aspiring poets and authors? Perhaps any lessons learned or any kind of, gems of wisdom that you could pass down?
Okay. So yeah, hopefully I be able to say a few words. I guess if we start anything with the good attention and positive mindset, then we just start the journey and things fall. You ask make sure you ask help around, send people emails, ask their advice. Most of the mentors or people in the field willing to help you, they will guide you, and then you move to your next step. Many times, yeah, you don't have things totally planned. It's just evolve the process. But yeah, once you start, universe is here to help. And then the other thing I will say, most of for the especially young writers, poets, probably most of us would need a bill-paying job. So things, writing, poetry or books, they're not that kind of a, if someone younger person is thinking they're gonna make a living out of it, it becomes, I will say, challenging. Most of the people around also I have seen, they have masters in creative writing, they are some teaching or doing some other bill-paying job, and this is their creative aspect for most of us.
Amazing. Thank you for that. At the top of the podcast, I made reference to some of your activism work. Um, would you like to share any of that with our listeners and our viewers?
Sure. So yeah, I'm passionate about reducing the use of single-use plastics. It's kind of, we are polluting the world, and these plastic do not degrade. They are there for thousands of years. Now more research is being published that how they are linking with some cancers, some cardiovascular risk, and as with the smoking in the beginning, we did not know much, right? We were just kind of, people were smoking, and then now with a lot of research, it's out there. So this plastics also, it's a big nuisance. And as a physician, we want to even work further spreading the awareness. And yeah, I write some poems about plastics too. If you have give me liberty, I can share
Sure.
one poem once. Okay.
Please do.
So this poem title is Water Bottle. I, the earth, your mother, I am suffocating. Let me breathe. Oceans are filling, animals are choking, you are polluting. With love and tenderness to raise you, I put you to my bosom. Now I am dying. Please respect and care for me. When I will be gone and there will be no one to kneel on. When you will be happy and in love, no ground for your heart to launch on. There will be no place to build altars to pray and dream on. My bosom is drying, fires are burning, I am warming and hurting. Relationships relationships are built not just on conveniences, but on shared amount of sacrifices to last and to hold. Please plan, reduce, reuse. Recycle does not work for plastic and its bottle. Oh, my child, please listen. Have mercy, I am your mother. You are now an adult. Why do you still need a bottle?
I think with regards to the ecology and especially recycling, I think from what I've seen and experienced just locally within where we live, there just not much is known just with even within the Sangat, for example. So small things like I'm involved with the Gurdwara, just trying to bring changes into the Gurdwara, for example, because the Gurdwara turns over a lot of waste. Just the nature of how things are with the langar, etc. So
Mhm.
implementing small changes locally, wherever you can is hugely important. But that's the responsibility of all of us individually, and that's I
Yeah,
think where we have an impact. How have you seen through your work and outreach programs and your activism? uh, How is it received with specifically? I'm asking within the Sikh community. How do we view it? Do you think?
sure. So yeah, I did talk with my Gurdwara Sangats and the committees, and yeah, we slowly change. I am seen in the Gurdwaras from the styrofoam plates and cups. We are moved to now these paper. Uh, but yeah, more and more needs to be done. But anyone we can do little things, even in our households, in our communities, everything adds up because we have filled oceans with the plastic. There is in the Pacific Ocean also there's a big plastic dump, and this does not get recycled. Sometimes these recycling companies ship to some developing countries. People have on the YouTube also videos where they can trace their plastic bottle going from this country to getting dumped into on the ships going to some developing countries. So yeah, anything we can do to reduce single-use plastic, I guess we are making difference.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a really commendable work as well. It was great to know that you were involved with that. So just coming towards the end of this podcast, it's been a pleasure speaking to you about the book and your work. Would you like to share any upcoming projects, perhaps any upcoming publications or poetry that you're working on?
Sure. So I guess if I keep on getting good feedback, and as you were reading the endorsement, so yeah, you get into a little bit hyped up. Okay, you are then saying, "Okay, I'm ready for my second book."
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, nothing in the plan, but yeah, if I guess I keep on working. You need to have some little time set up aside, and with all the help of it's all Guru's grace, I will say by Guru's grace. If everything stays, and then I'm really thankful for your group, what you are doing, giving platform for all the young writers, poets, and bringing out the work in the world. So if all these things match, and yeah, maybe soon. Closing thoughts, just kind of for anyone who is in this creative process, just kind of reading good literature. It always uh, raise our spirit, consciousness, and we learn from each other. I am also learning. There's lots of good books needs to be read. Yeah, I always feels that there's not enough time in my whole life to read all the good books around.
Yeah, absolutely. I would echo those thoughts. Just reading, more and broadening our horizon in terms of the types of perhaps even the genre that we're reading. It would be a really good thing. Just also very lastly for the listeners and viewers, the book is available once again on carlishouse.com and your local Amazon market. So that includes Amazon.com for those in the US, .ca for those in Canada, and all around the world. And like I said at the beginning, it's also available on Kindle as an ebook now as well. So do check it out. It's a beautiful collection of poems. We've obviously shared a couple with you today. You've heard the thoughts of those who endorsed the book. some really kind of powerful voices there. So yeah, don't just take our words for it, listen to them as well. And for any kind of anyone listening who perhaps is interested in ordering maybe a bulk order for their organization or their local gurdwara or wherever it might be, reading club, just get in touch with us, info@khalishouse.com. We can arrange for that as well. So Benji, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. But all the best, and thank you once again.
Thank you for giving me this again opportunity to publish the work and hopefully more readers be able to read and enjoy it. Thank you again for all you are doing.
Yeah, thank you ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ